It's been 2 weeks since I spoke to you guys. Welcome to Antoinette RG. My name is Antoinette. This is my channel. And my notes is here. My pen is here. I have a lip gloss in case I need to reapply. And what does that mean? That means I have something to talk about. And because I don't want to digress, I have to write it down. This time around, I didn't write 2 pages, so it's not going to be as long as the other ones. At least I hope so. And if you're wondering what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about the mispronunciation of African names. If you've been an OG subscriber to Antoinette RG, you would know that I have a Mike Factor segment on my channel titled Pronounce My African Name Right. And that's when I went to my campus, my university campus back when I was a student, and I interviewed some people who have native traditional names and asked them if people actually pronounce their name right. This is in Africa, mind you. So now we're going to talk about it. But today's video is not going to be centered around pronouncing or mispronouncing African names in Africa. No, it's going to be talking about the mispronunciation of African names in the Western world. I mean, the Western world, I'm talking about Europe, America, where all of those other places. Yeah, exactly. Those are the places that I'm going to be covering today because it is outrageous. It is outrageous. Very, very outrageous. So, why am I speaking about this? Names are identities. And if you wrongfully identify someone, that's basically an insult. And enough with the excuse of the names are just too hard. Russian names are a bit hard. Some French names are hard. But then you still pronounce it right. You still do it. So what's the problem when it comes to African names? Why don't you want to put the effort when it comes to African names? As for my qualifications, why I'm talking about this, I'm an African living in Nigeria. Even though I don't have African names for first names, 90% of my life, my name has been mispronounced by someone. To the point where I got tired of correcting people. You know what, just call me whatever you want. I know the correct pronunciation of my name, but I'm not gonna bother you with that. It's so scary because like I haven't even told a lot of people what my traditional name is because like if you can't even get the English one right, why would I trust you with the traditional one? Yeah. So those are my qualifications. Now let's go straight into discussing. I don't want to go through the road like I used to in the previous video. I believe this is something very, very serious that we need to talk about because the thing is, we're all guilty of this. I mean, we're all guilty. I know people would say, oh, it's just the foreigners. The foreigners don't want to learn how to pronounce our names right. But do you know how to pronounce your name right? Do you pronounce your name right when you are introducing yourself to somebody? Because I've been seeing clips from all these reality TV shows where the Africans or people who originated from Africa, they may not necessarily be Africans, as in they were not born here. Maybe they were born outside the continent, in another continent, but they are bearing African names. I believe as long as you're bearing an African name, it is your responsibility to learn how to not only pronounce the name, but to make sure that every single person who calls you by that name pronounces it right. It doesn't matter if you can speak the language. No, it's a name. It's a name. Come on. Like, let's be for real. Okay? So, I'm going to be calling out both the owners of the names and the people who mispronounce it. Like, I can see from the perspective of the people that own the name, like when sometimes they even they forget the pronunciation of their name because they've heard this concluded version of the pronunciation for so long that they're convinced that that is their name. Because for what reason would somebody named Shegun be telling someone, my name is Shegun? Your name is what? Oh my god, like it's so embarrassing that we have actually gotten to this point today. Because so many things could be different. Very, very different. Now, even with globalization, and by globalization, I mean the communicative theory that the world became a global village with the invent of the internet. Oh my god, I'm so sorry if I'm speaking too much grammar, but I'm gonna be a little bit intellectual here. It's a communication theory by Marshall McLuhan, and it basically states that with the popularization of the internet, the world has become a global village, which means because I have access to the internet, I can know what's happening in the UK. I can know what's happening in China, or maybe not China because of their media blockout and whatnot. I can know what's happening in South Korea. I can know what's happening in Japan. I can know what's happening in America, in California, in America is California, in Canada, exactly. I can know what's happening while it is happening because the internet is basically updating me of that regardless of the time zone. That's what I mean by globalization. So if something happens in Nigeria right now and Nigerians go to the internet and then talk about this thing that happened, people outside the country would be able to know that this thing is happening in Nigeria right now. It wasn't like that. Previously, before the internet, it would take at least a week, a month, longer than that, to be able to find out anything that's happening in another country, not talk of another continent. Okay? So now in the age of globalization, you have people who, even if they've never left the country, people like myself, who've never left the country, they know and have interacted with someone from another country. I have a lot of international friends, especially writer friends. Yeah. And I've never met them in person, but I've interacted with them. And they're from different continents, not just from, I've met friends in Africa, in the UK, even in Asia. So with that level of globalization, it is embarrassing to not be able to pronounce someone's name right simply because it's an African name. My beef with Google Documents is still there. When you spell an African name on the document while writing, I'm a writer in case you're new here, and they would color the red line under it like it's a typo. It's not a typo, it's a name. It's not a typo. And you know, even the correct spelling of my own name is sometimes, because that's not the spelling that's English. That's weird. That's weird, but let's not digress. Why is it important? Or what should you do? Now, in the Western world, I mentioned the Western world, I mentioned Africans in diaspora, I mentioned people bearing African names even though they are not Africans. It is quite possible because, like, I'm pretty sure some of us here in Africa were bearing names that aren't African, and we didn't even originate from here. But like, we have to learn the pronunciation of these names, right? We have to learn the pronunciation of these names. So let's move to what should be done when you meet somebody with a name that you cannot pronounce. You ask them, okay, when you meet someone and the person says my name says, or you read the person's name tag and you can't pronounce it, the polite thing to do is ask, how can I pronounce your name? Ask them, and when they tell you, you should actually practice it and call them by that pronunciation that they have told you, because it's disrespectful to give them something else. You're basically kind of erasing the identity of the origin of that name. It's not the polite thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. And you, as the carrier of that name, should be proud of it to the point where you do not conform to the pronunciation given to you by others. Because you're also the problem. If you conform to that pronunciation given by others, you're the problem. You can protest in whatever way. First, by not answering to anybody who does not pronounce the name the right way, or not interacting with them, or correcting them over and over again until they get it. Because, like, let's say, like the space that I am in, classical music, Russian music, Russian literature. I hear these people pronounce this Russian author's name right. But when it comes to pronouncing something as simple as Tolu, Ada, Ife, those are just, oh my god, those are just three syllables. Like, it's not so hard to just, and you know, I'm not perfect. I cannot say for a fact that I know how to pronounce every single African name that there is. But whenever I see a name that I cannot pronounce, regardless of where it came from, Google how to pronounce this. There's so many footballers that I've liked and like, oh, he's handsome. I want to know how to pronounce his name. So, and I don't know how to pronounce it. So what do? I Google how to pronounce that footballer's name. Like, we have the internet for a reason, guys. The internet exists for a reason. There's no shame in asking questions. I believe we should all be respectful, because like, I don't know about you, but like, if I take time, if you ask me for my name and I tell you my name and you mispronounce it, I may never speak to you again. Sorry, I may never speak to you again. Don't take it personally. In fact, it's gotten to a point where sometimes like I unknowingly rate someone. I'm like, would they be able to pronounce my name right if I tell you? Or should I just say, oh no, you don't have to know my name. You don't have to know my name. We're not gonna meet each other again. And let's just end it as that. Because I could tell you my name and then like it got to the point like in uni where even when my lecturers would mispronounce my name right, like I can't even say no, that's not the pronunciation. So my friends started to do it for me because I was tired. And then when you tell someone your name, they'll be like, where are you from? First of all, pronounce the name. Because like, let's do better. And that's why I'm going to leave it at that. Like I said, this one is going to be so much shorter. Like it's 11 minutes. Usually whenever I have this book out, I could talk for up to 20 minutes. I don't want to do that this time. But I just want to let you guys know something very, very awesome that I've done. So I've been able to segment the videos of my channel into different playlists. This one that I'm making today is going to go into the Mic Factor playlist. The Mic Factor was the previous name of this channel before I decided to add my personal life into it. Okay, so if you go onto the playlist section of my channel, you're going to see Mic Factor. You can watch all of them if you've not like caught up, like watch my previous videos. I look so much younger there, and I was a little bit inexperienced, so don't really judge me for things that I did there. But I'm pretty sure you would enjoy a few videos, especially the video I did on breakfast, on Nigerian youths getting breakfast. I have been requested multiple times to do an upgraded version of that video. So if you really want it, you can watch the video, tell me what you think, and then maybe I can make it happen. Like if I see any recent comment, I'll make it happen. So there's one on the Mic Factor, there is one on writing vlogs, there's one on reading vlogs, like what I'm currently reading, and there is one on my personal vlogs. My personal vlogs are basically the things that I do, things I want to share and whatnot. So that's basically the segments of all the shows that you're going to be getting on my channel, Answering RG. I'm going to try and do my best to do better. And you should also do better when it comes to pronouncing African names. Because like, it doesn't matter if you don't live in Africa. As long as you have an African name, you're supposed to figure out how to pronounce it, because when somebody asks you, what is your name? It is what you tell them that they will call you. And if you tell them the wrong pronunciation, they're going to call you the wrong pronunciation. Anyway, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.